All right, I have this question here from Shegun Aluko. And Shegun is saying, I want to know your take on the subject of luck and risk as a life lesson. Um, as you have a profound understanding of the Holy Book in relation to our present world and work. I would really appreciate if you can take out time to answer this. All right, that's a good question, Shegun, and I'm going to take out some time to answer this right now. Do I believe in luck and risk to even start with? I do not. And that's my personal opinion. My personal opinion, um, those are my thoughts on those two words. I do not believe in them. I think people make a meal out of them when there is actually nothing to them. I don't believe, I think they are very um, victimizing words rather than empowering words. And I'll tell you why I have this opinion. Because these two words, luck and risk, what they do is that they relegate God. Luck and risk, those are two words that relegate God, isolate man, and kind of elevate circumstance. You understand? So I don't believe in the words luck and risk, mainly from a faith point of view. If anything relegates God, I do not believe in it. If anything relegates the concept of a creator, a mastermind, a designer, I do not believe in it. And I don't think my professional background has helped me to soften this my mentality on this, because I'm a designer too. You understand? Um, a lot of my professional training was in design. So I was trained as an architect. I learned graphic design. I worked in branding for years. So I understand the power of intention. And I understand how people are so carried away by a physical state and current state of a thing that they do not consider the work that they didn't see or they cannot see. So they think some things are random. So even just by, if I even put faith aside, just by my professional background of being a graphic designer for a long time and being a brand consultant, I realize that there's a lot of work that goes that the customer doesn't see, and just thinks that it is just their natural decision to choose a product, not knowing that it was designed. Your intention was designed. You understand? Was kind of manipulated by a set of people that thought about decision making and how to force you on a particular path to making a decision. So I've worked for a lot of organizations, in my branding days, that did better than their competition, whether they were schools or just people that just offered some services, and some people just think, oh, these people are luckier than their competition. No, they probably weren't luckier than their competition, because they took time to really hire people that knew their work and did a good job for them. Intentional work. So I don't believe in luck. I don't believe in risk, because they both relegate God. They relegate the intentionality of God as the foundational designer of both the physical and the invisible things. Now, my faith doesn't allow me to believe in luck and risk. And also my professional background doesn't allow me to believe in the concept of luck and risk. Um, and also my experience in life doesn't allow me to believe in the concept of luck and risk. Now let's start with luck. You understand, and it might lead us into risk. Now, a lot of people think things happen to them by chance. I don't think so. I don't believe things happen to us by chance. I believe things are designed. I believe that there are a lot of directions things could go. So the design is multi. um multi it has a multi path structure. You understand? So it could go one or two ways, but that depends on our decisions. Our decisions. And so before I go into decision making, taking us on a path, one thing we must have in mind is that there are things that happen to us all, which we all enjoy, just by virtue of the fact that we have a good God, that God is good, God is kind, God is merciful. It is not luck, it is a caring God. And we as man must be humble enough and grateful enough to acknowledge this hand that gives us things that we do not deserve. It is not luck, it is love. You understand? So there's some things that happen to us all, like the sun we enjoy happens to every single one of us. The sun, the warmth of the sun that we enjoy, happens to every single one of us, irrespective of our nature, whether we are kind or wicked people. It happens to every single one of us. The wind that we feel, that cools us down, that refreshes us, happens to every single one of us out of God's love and mercy for us. It is not luck. It was orchestrated to make us enjoy life. The rain that we get that cools the ground and wets our souls and allows us to engage in agriculture so that we can feed. It happens to us all, not because we deserve it, but because God loves us. So it's not a random occurrence. It's an intentional occurrence of love. So it's not luck. You understand? So when we look at the good things that happen to us, nothing is luck. Things that happen to us by nature, by virtue of just being alive, is not luck. It's God's love. Now, there are things that happen to us, and this is where we talk about the path, the multi-directional paths that we have in life that happen to us by making good choices. Now, I want to have you know that there is no good choice outside of a God choice. And what I mean is, when things happen to people, um, there is what is called decision making that puts us on particular paths. You understand? So when we make wrong decisions about about any matter, it puts us on a path that we might come to regret or that we might come to truly appreciate. Now, so when it comes to decision making, a lot of us that think we have bad luck, a lot of our what we call bad luck is rooted in bad, number one, faulty information that led to bad decision, and that put us on a path of regret. And so we think that we are unlucky. But the truth of the matter is there has been bad decisions. Some decision we need to go back and visit some decisions and really question those decisions and be willing to make a U-turn. You understand? So you cannot continue to go down a bad path and expect to get to a good destination. You will continue to head towards devastation, and then you continue to think you are unlucky through life. So some of us need to go back to decisions we made maybe 1 year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Some of us need to sit down and really think, where did I get it wrong? You understand? So it doesn't have much to do with luck. Some people, the worst decisions they made was going to school to study something that they really had no interest in whatsoever. So when you are working and people are not hiring you because they just say they don't like your energy, your work is not as good as the next guy, is it that you are unlucky? No. Number one, you went into a profession for which you had no passion. You understand? So the energy you give out in itself is not attractive. It's turning people off. So you're not particularly unlucky. You just made a very bad decision going into the higher institution. Some of you need to go back and study what it is. And when I say study, you might not even be going back to any kind of higher institution, but just do a course in something you really like and get on that path. And you just realize how much your life changes, how much your life will change. You understand? So that is not luck. That is a faulty decision you have made that puts you on a path whereby nature, in terms of man and energy of man, begins to resist you. It's not luck. You understand? And the person that goes into something they really love they do something they're passionate about, something that seems second nature to them, they seem to be able to do it gracefully, with ease. You understand? They do it with a smile on their face. Is that luck? No. A good decision to follow a path for which they had a passion for was what has led them to this place where they are favored for doing their job. So I once did a podcast. I did a podcast some time ago, this year. It's called This Thing Called Your Soul. This Thing Called Your Soul. I think take out time to listen to it. And in it, I talked about 3 functions your soul has in what we call reasoning. Reasoning. I said your soul is a reasoning faculty. And what reasoning? Reasoning is broken down into 3 things. 3 things. It's broken down into passion, imagination, and intuition. Passion, imagination, intuition. Those are the functions of your soul. That's what your soul does. Now, this thing about luck is because a lot of people do not listen to their soul. So they shut down their passion, their imagination is faulty. And this imagination, I'll talk about it when I come to risk. And their intuition is dead. So your intuition is what we call your instincts. I've already talked about not following your passion, how that can make you make bad decisions. But your intuition also affects our subconscious or unconscious decisions. And that's why I spend a lot of time watching some things on some content on social media online that they talk about lucky people, and they see people that miss death by just a whisker, you understand, by just moving from a particular position at a particular time. So they think of it as people are so lucky, the luckiest people alive. But then what I realize is that instinct, a lot of times, following your instinct is something every creation has. Every creation, every living creation has instincts. So the flower has the instinct. If you plant a flower and you put a shade over it, by instinct, it's going to begin to bend away from that shade. So if that plant becomes a tree, that tree will become crooked. You understand? By the instincts of following light. You understand? It's instinct. So you can't say the tree was lucky that it managed to bend. No, it was lucky because it follows its instinct. So was that really luck? No, it was design. It followed the basic instinct, the instinct. Now, a lot of God's creation are surrendered to instinct. Man is the one that gets educated out of his instinct. The problem with man is that the first thing we get educated out of our instincts. And that's a problem. You understand? So a lot of people are unfortunate because they do not follow their instinct. They don't follow their spidey senses. You understand? So Spider-Man has a special ability of instinct. He can tell when something is about to hit him. Within a split second, he can tell problem is coming. So he moves immediately. A lot of us don't follow our spidey senses. You understand? Our God-given instinct, our supernatural powers. You understand? So God has given all of us instincts, but we question it. Because when we go to school teaches us to question, which is not a bad thing. But then we take it the extra mile to question our nature and to challenge. So man has become too challenging. And that has made him very doubtful, very unsure, very insecure. That's where risk comes in. But then you challenge your instincts, and by challenging your instincts, you are in the wrong place at the wrong time, doing the wrong thing, which you call being unlucky. No, I would call it being instinct deaf. Instinct deaf. So there was a tsunami, I think many years ago. Was it 2006 or 2004? I can't remember. Early 2000, that happened in Asia, and it killed hundreds of thousands of people. Terrible tsunami. But then there was a report that tsunami, when it happened, a lot of animals were spared, were lucky in quotes. What happened was a lot of wild animals moved uphill days before the tsunami, some hours before the tsunami. And people reported their pets, like cats, those that were not caged, left the house and ran uphill. They went higher ground. So people were looking for their animals. Where's my cat? My cat has left the house for about 2 days. I can't see it. I don't know where it is. Where's my dog? You understand? Chickens, all of them went uphill. Goats started moving away. It was the human being that didn't follow their instinct. And the human beings suffered mass casualty. Most of the animals that died, died because they were constrained. So they were locked in a house, locked on a farm, and stuff, so they couldn't move. You understand? But the ones that could make their decisions and follow their instincts freely survived. You see, were the animals lucky? No. They were obedient to their instinct. You understand? The humans had learned to forget this thing called instinct. So they were thinking about the people that went on holiday. Were thinking about, okay, no, something just tells them, oh, we need to cut short this holiday right now and go back home. But they were thinking about how much they spent. Oh, we spent $20,000 on this holiday and this hotel, and we said we're going to go to the beach tomorrow. Let's do it after that. So they questioned their instincts, and a lot of people lost their lives because of this. Were they unlucky? No. So you see how that decision making and following your instincts are kind of intertwined. I don't believe in luck. I believe in obedience. And I believe in the blessing that comes with obedience. There's a blessing in being obedient to your passion and saying, this is my passion. I don't think it's marketable doing this thing. Oh. I like washing floors. It's my passion, but then I can't be a janitor. You see, that's why people miss it and become unfortunate for the rest of their lives. They've become so rational. It's that person that has the courage to follow their passion, irrespective of what their mind tells them, their educated mind tells them, but following their instinct to say, I like that mop, and I like that soapy water, and I like the way it feels on the ground. I'm not going to start from there to volunteer to mop places. I'm not going to think of the container that people have called it, that is calling me a janitor. I'm not going to call myself somebody that loves to do this activity and feel some fulfillment. I cannot explain it, but I feel drawn. Those people are the people that get blessings at the end of the day. That while they are mopping the floor, someone sees them and says, I love the way you are doing this thing. I want you to do this thing, but not mopping the floor, but helping me to mop up, you understand, these indiscretions in my company, because I like the way you are mopping this floor. Or they meet somebody, or they meet their future partner, or they know something kind of happens that helps them on that path of the ridiculous and puts them in a place whereby people say, wow, you're so lucky just from mopping the floor. You got this opportunity. Just from mopping the floor, you won this. Just from mopping the floor, you were not in this place where people got killed. You survived. You're so lucky. No, were they lucky? They obeyed. You see, that passion. Or people that obey their instinct. A lot of people will call it luck, but no, it's obedience. Obedience comes with a blessing. Obedience always blesses you. Obedience. Very important. You understand? So that happened. And another thing we ought to obey are imaginations. But then imagination easily corrupted because of the kind of content we take in. So a lot of people have dreams they are not meant to have because of what they watched the night before. That dream wasn't natural anymore. You understand? It was influenced by your content. You understand? So a lot of people when it's very hard for me to talk about imagination because a lot of people do not have their own imaginations anymore. They have influenced imaginations that have come from faulty associations with people, and they've heard things they shouldn't hear, and they've believed outcomes they shouldn't believe, and they've attached it to themselves. So people have become less courageous based on other people's faulty imagination. And this is where risk comes in. This is where I will talk about risk. What you call risk, a lot of times, is a corrupted imagination. Your imagination has already thought out that the end of this thing will be terrible. Based on what? Based on what I learned in school, based on what my parents told me, based on what I saw happen to somebody. You see, that imagination is no longer yours, it has become influenced. It's not from your soul anymore. Because your soul is a gift. It gives you everything pure. It gives you pure instinct. It gives you pure passions. It gives you pure imagination. You understand? But things corrupt this. Our association, especially our association with people, our association with content corrupts this. And that's why some people see things as risk. They don't see it as actions that lead to good anymore because they are looking at other people. Or they've been educated by other people that I did this. It didn't work for me, so you don't do it. I married someone from another tribe and see what my family has turned into. You better not do it. You understand? So that affects your own imagination. When you're marrying someone from another tribe, you begin to think, that's such a risk. You understand? So a lot of people that are courageous are because they do not have corrupted imagination. So you see, I have a young son. He's 2. He's going to be 3. You know, for a long time, when you lock him in a room, I used to try to, when I want to get out of the room, I say, I'm leaving you. And I'll say, I'll put off the light. Didn't mean anything to him. And I'll put off the light and I'll leave the room. And I'll think he will come out some minutes after. He won't come out. You see, and I'll come back some seconds later and I'll see him sitting on the bed just like nothing happened. No fear, no anything, no hurry, no insecurity. Just feels just sitting down there. You understand? He is not scared of being alone in a place that seems dark because he has not learned about monsters or creepy creatures or stuff like that. He might feel uncomfortable, which is a natural thing of I cannot see where I am, I cannot see what's around me, but then he doesn't think there's something bad coming to me. We learn that. You understand? A lot of that is learned. You understand? So he might feel I can't function in this darkness. You understand? But he doesn't feel like his life is threatened in the darkness. And so we learn that by association. So we learn a lot of our fears. We learn fear over time. You understand? So my son, his imagination is pure. So he seems courageous. The other time I was watching something and they put snakes on the floor, and they told some parents with toddlers to let them touch the snakes, and the toddlers were touching the snakes. They were petting the snakes like they were petting dogs. You understand? Because their imagination has not been corrupted. They just saw them as interesting things. So were the toddlers courageous, or were they taking risk? They definitely were not taking risk, because you only take risk when your mind has been opened to faulty imagination. Faulty imagination. That's one condition on which you take risk. Another condition on which you might take risk is when you feel you are alone in the world and when you have no relationship with God. Now everything becomes a risk, and it becomes a risk because your wisdom is limited. And when we feel we have limited wisdom, we are not informed enough on a particular matter, we are always going to feel scared. We are always going to feel scared. So a lot of people, because man will always have limited wisdom, no matter how educated or how wise you are. If you do not lean on God, you are going to feel more moments of risk than moments of rest. You understand? So risk has to do with your imagination and has to do with what your security is in terms of knowledge. When you realize that there is a creator, there is a designer, somebody who is intentional about things, you can learn to rest even when you do not understand what is going on. Again, I come to kids. A lot of kids do not understand what is going on, but then they are able to rest. I remember the time I was on a plane with my sister and her kids. I didn't have kids then. And we were coming from Lagos to Abuja, and we were about to land, and the plane went through some terrible turbulence. Terrible. The plane just lost control, and everyone was panicking. But my sister, who was carrying her kids and had her older daughter beside her and her younger son strapped to her, these kids were very young. I looked at her, and she was calm. And because she was calm, the kids were looking at her. They were calm. They didn't cry. They didn't do anything. They were just calm, like if nothing happened. I think the son was even still playing and reading something because the mother was calm. He didn't understand what was going on, but then he looked to the person who he trusts understands everything. And because of that, he didn't believe he was at risk. But the children who were with panicking mothers started crying even more than the mothers. You understand? And that's where, when you feel alone, you will begin to feel insecure about how much knowledge you have about the situation. But when you have the concept of God, nothing becomes a risk. There is no risk in God. I will say this again, there is no risk in God, especially when you're obedient. So I'll give this instant. One of the biggest risks people say I've taken is coming back from Canada to Nigeria. People say, "Oh, you were in Canada? Why didn't you stay there? You went to school, you got a job. Why didn't you just stay? Why did you leave your job in Canada?" You understand? When people are trying to go there, why did you come back to a place like Nigeria? That was such a risk. You understand? Just to set up this your design thing, and why? Why did you take that risk? How were you courageous enough to take that risk? It wasn't a risk to me. It was never a risk to me. It was clear that God was leading me. For me, it was more obedience. That's it. I was just obedient to God. It wasn't a risk. It wasn't like, "Oh man, how can I do this? This is a major decision in my life. Oh, how can it go?" I had no terrible imagination of Nigeria. No terrible imagination. And one of the good things that happened to me, this is where I'll talk about association in Canada, was I lived with a Canadian family while I was there. They were an incredible Canadian family, a lovely, kind, loving Canadian family that took care of me. And a lot of my mates live with their fellow Nigerians. Now, this was a problem. I'm not saying it's bad to live with Nigerians, but then we need to be careful. This is where we must be led. You understand? We must be led by God, because when I went to Canada, I had two options: get an apartment of my own or live with a Canadian family that would give me orientation before I integrated myself into the system. So I chose to live with a Canadian family. A lot of people that went decided to get apartment on their own because they wanted independence. They wanted a sense of independence. They didn't want anybody to restrict them. I said I will live with this Canadian family. And I lived with that Canadian family from the moment I got into school till the moment I left school. And they were the people that helped me to find a job, even when my mates, other international students, could not find jobs. I got a job in the office of the mother of the home that I was staying. So I stayed there from school till my work, till up until my working days in Canada. I stayed with them. But one thing I want to let you know is that because I was staying with them, I was not hearing about Nigeria and how bad the power situation was, how bad the political situation was, how bad the economy was. All we're talking about was just leisure stuff because they didn't know about Nigeria. I wasn't hearing about it. I was just talking about random stuff like sports, hockey, food, movies, and stuff. But I realized the Nigerians that were living with each other were always checking about Nigeria online. Oh, they just kidnapped. Oh, they just had a coup here. Oh, they just had a riot here. Oh, this thing just happened here. Oh, they just killed how many here. Oh, a house just collapsed. And just thought, I am never going back to Nigeria. This place is hell on earth. So when I had the leading to come back to Nigeria, I had no bad imagination. So it was an easy decision. But the Nigerian people I spoke to were like, how are you going back to that place? That place that we just heard that place that we just heard that. This unfortunate thing just happened there. Oh, the government is so bad. They just increased the price of this. They are just protesting for this. I didn't hear any of those. You understand? Because my imagination going back was not corrupted. So I came back confidently. So people thought I was courageous. And I was courageous because I went with information that was good. But people thought I was taking a risk. I never ever saw myself as taking a risk. I saw myself as following a leading. And I knew that God was with me. I had a consciousness that someone was leading me. You understand? So, in that way, that's my roundabout answer about my opinion on luck and risk. I don't believe in both. Because what they do is relegate God. And once God is relegated, you feel isolated. Once you feel isolated, you feel like everything that happens to you happens by chance. You feel undeserving, number one, but you don't feel undeserving in an appreciative way. You feel undeserving in a fearful way. There are two ways in which it's not bad to feel undeserving because a lot of things we are undeserving, but you must feel undeserving with a sense of love. A lot of people feel undeserving with a sense of fear that they could lose it any minute. That's what they call luck. You have it now, hold on to it, it could go tomorrow. That's what we call risk. That you are doing it, you don't know what is ahead of you. You don't know how it could turn out. Do you understand? No. A lot of times you might not know what's ahead of you, but those who know who is ahead of them never take risk. They trust. Just like my sister's children. As long as she was with them and they didn't feel her panic, they were not panicked. It didn't matter what happened on that plane. They would never count it as a risk in their life. You understand? So yeah, I hope that makes some sense to you. But that's a great question. And I really wish more of us would get to live our lives without a sense of luck, rather with a sense of blessing and a sense of love, without a sense of risk, rather we live ourselves with a sense of security and with a sense of courage.